Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Forge, your place for gaming news, reviews, and content. I wanted to start this video off by apologizing for the lack of content lately. I just finished my final semester at college while also starting a brand new job, so I've been very busy lately. But in order to make up for it, I'm going to be giving away 2 Steam keys with today's video, so make sure to tune in to the end for your chance to win one. But today's topic is going to be over the Sentinel class in the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. The Sentinel is your tank-like, unstoppable bulwark class seen in most other RPGs. Here in the Mass Effect trilogy, they are the hybrid tech and biotics class. They don't put out a ton of damage, but they make up for it in crowd control and versatility. So let's get started with the first game in the pack with Mass Effect 1, the Sentinel. The Sentinel in Mass Effect 1 is a crowd control powerhouse, bringing a lot of the enemy affecting biotics along with the technical prowess of the engineer. The Sentinel is a force to be reckoned with, especially with the right squadmates. For their abilities, the first one up we have is Throw, a good way to get enemies off your back. I didn't put many points into it, just when I had some left over, because the base skill is usually good enough to keep enemies away from you. Next up we have Lift, a useful crowd controller. It lifts enemies up and they take damage depending on how far they've fallen from the duration of the skill. A useful tip if you use Lift is that it kills husks instantly and it stops health regeneration on enemies like Krogan. I didn't put any points into this one, but it is a useful skill. Next up, we have Barrier, the power that makes the Sentinel the unkillable bastion of the battlefield. By using this skill, a flat bonus biotic barrier is added on top of your shields, giving you a chance to get out on the front lines, taking damage for your team, or giving you a last-minute recharge if you get caught out without cover. All in all, this is the skill I maxed out first on the Sentinel. It is useful at all stages of the game, especially on the Insanity difficulty. Next up we have Stasis, a very potent crowd control ability. By enveloping the target in a heavy Mass Effect field, they are unable to deal damage and unable to take damage for the duration of the skill. Unless you go for the Bastion specialization later, I recommend only putting a handful points into this skill. But next up, we have our first tech skill, Decryption, granting the ability Sabotage and unlocking containers in the overworld. The ability is good enough on its own by overheating enemy weapons so they have to wait before they can fire again to put points into this skill, but also having to unlock items makes this a must-have in my opinion. Using Sabotage also places a tech proximity mine. And if you want more information about those, I go into those in more detail in my engineer guide, so feel free to check out that guide as well. But next up we have Electronics, another useful tech talent. The active ability of this one is Overload. By shooting out a pulse of electricity from your Omni tool, you can bring down any enemy's shields and do extra damage to synthetic enemies like Geth. This skill also places a tech proximity mine, so you're able to overload fuel canisters and the like if you find them in the battle you're in. A great passive of this skill is granting extra capacity to your shields, so leveling this skill is great offensively and defensively. First Aid is up next. By using this skill, you heal more every time you use a metagem. I opted to level this skill on Squadmates instead of myself, as it gives the same bonus, so you can spend your skill points on your other skills. For our Sentinel, we have the option of 2 specializations, Bastion and Medic. You can spec into a longer range Sentinel by using the Medic, using a combination of weapons like sniper rifles and assault rifles, along with Neural Shock from the medicine tree to give your Sentinel a more support-like build. The Bastion is the complete opposite playstyle. By being able to damage enemies in stasis and having more capacity in your barrier, you become an unstoppable tank, wreaking havoc wherever you walk on the battlefield. Using close-range weapons like shotguns gives you the chance to become an upfront and personal damage dealer, clearing out the enemies out and using your squad as a support for you. Bonus talents are up next, and I heavily recommend Singularity. It works wonderfully in Mass Effect 1. By placing a singularity, enemies are trapped in that area, giving you the option to further crowd control others or tear up the enemies inside. Your squad members depend on how you want to play your Sentinel. By going a longer range medic Sentinel, you might want some damage coming from your squad, so Rex or Garrus can provide the output needed. Going up close with the Bastion, you might want a member like Kaidan to be a support like Sentinel, or even Liara to bring more biotics to the battlefield. Overall, the Sentinel in Mass Effect 1 is a really fun time, but let's move on to the second game and the introduction of what the Sentinel is known for. Here in Mass Effect 2, the Sentinel is a bit more refined, with an equal balance between tech and biotics. It is still the survival powerhouse with the introduction of its signature skill, the Tech Armor. But first up for the skills is Throw, a downgraded version of the one we got in Mass Effect 1 due to every enemy having more defenses on Insanity. It's still useful for husks and other smaller enemies, provided you get rid of their defenses, but it is sparingly used. Next up, we have Warp, a much more useful power on Insanity. By being able to send out a wave of Mass Effect fields that strip an enemy's protections at the molecular level, it is an insanely useful power. Being able to strip both barriers and armor is a godsend on Insanity. Try leveling this skill as soon as you can. Next up, we have the signature skill, the Tech Armor. By generating an energy armor around Shepard, they are able to be shielded for an extremely long duration, and with upgrades being able to take it off and do massive damage to enemies. The evolution for this skill is mainly dependent on how you play. If you use powers like Warp and Overload, going for the Power Armor upgrade will be a worthy investment, and the Assault Armor upgrade is useful if you like being up close and detonating the armor for yourself for massive damage to enemies. A useful tip about the Assault upgrade is that it now has 2 tiers. When shields drop, damage does not bleed through regardless of how strong the attack was, so the first layer can absorb the full impact of a heavy attack, such as a missile or a sniper, and you're still recharged to 50% shielding on the secondary boost, which can itself absorb a heavy attack as well. Overload is up next, and it's still incredibly useful on Insanity given so many enemies have shields. Here on the Insanity difficulty, I like to go for the Heavy Overload upgrade, as I would rather take down every enemy's shields one at a time than a little bit over a long period of time. Cryoblast is our last skill for the Sentinel, and like in all of my other guides on the Insanity difficulty, I recommend staying far away from this skill. This skill only works on unarmored, down to the health bar enemies. Given that even husks have added protections, this is not a useful skill at all. Defender is our class skill, and it reduces the cooldown on powers, increases Shepard's health, and provides the Paragon and Renegade bonuses. Your choices for upgrading this tree include the Raider for more damage boosting, or the Guardian for lower cooldowns. I went for the Guardian in my playthrough, as lower cooldowns help immensely on Insanity. Your bonus power in Mass Effect 2 should be in areas that your Sentinel is lacking. An ammo power like Warp Ammo or Armor Piercing comes in handy in a lot of fights. You could also get Slam or Reeve for some more biotic goodness, but I would stay away from things like the Geth Shield Boost or Energy Drain. The Sentinel already performs those wells, and it would just be redundant. Your squad mates here in the second game need to be able to dish out some damage, so people like Grunt or Zaid work wonderfully. You have all the coverage necessary to strip defenses by yourself, so bringing another biotic like Samara or Jacob can work to further crowd control enemies here. Your combat guide for the second game is relatively straightforward. You're going to be stripping enemy defenses while taking the fire for your squad. This does not mean blindly rushing in because you're still on the Insanity difficulty. Rather, you can afford to be a bit more direct in how you reach your next cover spot. As long as you take it slow and methodical, this is one of the easiest classes to beat Insanity with. And with all of that done, let's move on to the third game in the trilogy. Here in the third game, combat is faster paced, and along with that brings changes to how abilities work, combo, and detonate. The tech armor is up first, and the major change is that the armor no longer detonates by itself. Rather, you have to click it off using the shortcut to deal the damage out. Another change is that while your armor is active, your cooldowns are increased. This brings the Sentinel to a crossroads early on. Do you want to spec your armor to be a tanky powerhouse with increased cooldowns, or spec into a power churning character with some extra survivability? This determines how you spec the rest of your abilities as well. Next up we have Throw, a relatively unchanged ability. Here in 3, it is super common to lead with Warp or another duration biotic ability, and have Throw detonate for massive damage. With the new weight system in this game, if you're going for light weapons, this ability has one of the shortest cooldowns in the game. Choosing the detonate evolution instead is one half of the strongest biotic detonation available in Mass Effect 3. Though each of the rank 5 evolutions only apply to biotic explosions, Throw can be used to detonate all types of power combos. Next up we have Warp, and it is your main primer for biotic combos. Sadly, it does not do extra damage to barriers like in Mass Effect 2, but I feel this skill more than makes up for it in its biotic combos. Warp is at the center of the Sentinel's unique ability to chain power combos without bonus powers or assistance from Squadmates due to its ability to detonate a tech burst and prime a biotic explosion in a single use. Casting Overload, Warp, and Throw in succession will devastate shielded enemies even on Insanity. Cryoblast is up next, and although the introduction of tech combos has somewhat improved its usefulness, it still falls behind other skills here on Insanity. I recommend not putting any skill points here, same as in 2, it only affects non-shielded enemies. But moving on to a more useful skill is Overload, the best way to get rid of defenses here on Mass Effect 3. I would suggest going for upgrades that increase the amount depleted rather than the area upgrades here on Insanity. You want to be taking out targets one at a time rather than splitting your damage equally. The grenade for this class is the Lift Grenade, a useful grenade, but I mainly use Throw for the same utility this grenade provides. Throw locks onto targets. While using the grenade, you have to aim carefully, hope the enemy doesn't run out of the way, and make sure that their defenses are gone first. Your bonus powers for the Sentinel depend on how you play here. Playing a more tanky, defense-oriented Sentinel, you might want something like the Defense Matrix or Stasis to further cement your place on the battlefield. If you're playing a more caster-like Sentinel, you might want Reeve or an ammo power to get more sustained damage on enemies. For your squad here in 3, just like the other games, the Sentinel is very balanced in its stats, so pick who you like and don't worry too much about the optimal party. I used a combination of Kaiden or Ashley along with Liara for biotic wombo combos. The combat guide here in 3 is also dependent on how you play. And while either of the options, defensive tank or offensive caster, are effective and viable, a middle-of-the-road approach, fitting given that the Sentinel is a jack-of-all-trades class, involves keeping your recharge speed as close to 200% as possible. Given that the recharge speed, boost, and penalties are based on percentages rather than raw numbers, Tech Armor's recharge penalty isn't too extreme. You can simply activate it at the start of the mission and just leave it on as an added defense. By speccing your Tech Armor for maximum damage reduction, up to 50%, and power damage, up to 25%, you've made yourself harder to kill and your powers more lethal. I went for a more offensive caster build, keeping my recharge speed low, taking submachine guns and assault rifles, and upgrading 1 or 2 weapons at a time. Overall, the Sentinel is a very balanced class, so feel free to experiment with a lot of different options, weapons, and squadmates. They're all unique, bringing both tech and biotic abilities to the battlefield. In addition to complete weapons training, Sentinels are equipped with highly advanced shields that makes taking cover less necessary and rushing their enemies more productive. I highly recommend this as a first-timer's class for Insanity. It is filled with safeties to ensure you don't die, and you won't go wrong with just about any build for it. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I'd like to give away 2 Steam keys with this video. I'm just coming across 100 subscribers, and I want to say thank you for everyone for sticking with this channel as I finished up my college degree. The 2 games I have for giveaway today are Civilization 6 and Control for PC. Civilization 6 Platinum Edition comes with most of the DLC available, minus the new Frontiers Pass. A great time sink if you enjoy strategy games. It is one of the most played games in my library. I plan on coming out with some Civilization guides soon, coming later this year. Control is a winner of over 80 awards. It is a visually stunning third-person action-adventure game that will keep you on the edge of your seat, blending open-ended environments with the signature world building and storytelling of renowned developer Remedy Entertainment. Control presents an expansive and intensely gratifying gameplay experiment. Feel free to comment on which one you would like, and I'll pick the winner a month from now, so make sure to subscribe for the rest of my Mass Effect guides as they come out, and also for more game reviews that I plan on intertwining with my more in-depth guide videos. Thank you all for watching, have a great day, and I hope to see